Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Mary Staver, and I'm the president of the Royal Neighbors Foundation. The missions of our organizations are to empower women, and especially the foundation is a 501c3 public charity dedicated to building women's futures through financial education. Our goal is to reach out to women across the country and provide them with resources they need to help them to become more financially secure. And our educational webinar series is one of the ways that we do this. The foundation is proud to partner with a certified financial planner, Lauren Lyons Cole, to bring you valuable information on how to manage your finances and secure your financial future. It's through the generous donations made to the Royal Neighbors Foundation that we're able to provide webinars like this to so many and free of charge. The Foundation's webinars are exactly what women need to remind us of our responsibility to take charge of our financial futures. If you feel you already have, that's great, but there's always more to learn. And tonight's topic is Encore careers. Whether you're ready to change careers completely or slightly pivot your focus, don't let uncertainty hold you back from achieving your career and financial goals. Lauren is going to walk you through how to successfully transition an Encore career from finding the job you want to getting the training that you need. Because working should be more than just about earning a paycheck. You deserve to love the work you do. Tonight, you'll learn also about the Foundation Scholarship Program and how a scholarship could make a difference in achieving those dreams and making them a reality. So now I'd like to hand it over to Lauren. Lauren, are you there?
I'm here. Hello.
Hello there. Sorry about those technical difficulties, but sometimes it's a little bit of trial and error in these days of technology.
It's so true. Well, thank you so much, Mary, for the introduction, and hello to everyone who's listening tonight. I'm so excited to be with you all again for our first webinar in 2015. As always, I am so happy to be partnering with Royal Neighbors Foundation on their mission to help educate women across the country. It's always wonderful to work with like-minded people. And I am especially appreciative to all of you who are setting aside some time tonight because I know how busy life is. So hopefully this is a topic that will hit close to home for a lot of you. It's something I'm particularly excited about because Encore careers were something that I grew up around. My grandfather worked in sales and left his job relatively early to start a completely new career as an architect and home builder. So that was quite a shift. And then I saw my dad do the same thing when he left his corporate career and now works in a nonprofit world. And even for my own self, I mean, I know I'm young still, but I started my career in marketing and made the decision that I wanted to go into financial planning. So I certainly understand having a passion inside and wanting to do something a little different with your life, whether, for whatever the reason is. So this is something that's really important to me, and I hope that you guys will learn a lot out of our webinar tonight. So with that said, let's just jump right in. And of course, one other thing, as always, if you have questions or any technical difficulties, please do send us a chat. We see those and we try to address them. So if you have questions as I'm talking, we'll handle them at the end, but send us through the chat so that we can moderate those. So Encore careers, they are on the rise. Interestingly, fewer than 10% of people aged 44 to 70 are in Encore careers, but another 31% would like to join them. So this is a huge thing. A lot of baby boomers are really interested in shifting their focus. We're all living longer. We have better quality of life. Not everyone is excited about easing into retirement. Some people want to actually keep working. So this is a trend we're really seeing. More than 70% of people age 50 or older plan to work during their retirement years. And of the 76 million people above age 50, about 50% have interest in entrepreneurship. So this is particularly interesting. Have a lot. In fact, in that generation, people over age 50 are, or age 45 to 60, I'm sorry, are actually starting businesses faster than those in the 20 to 30-year-old bracket. So we're seeing a lot of people who are taking their life experience, their career experience, and their knowledge about the world and capitalizing on those opportunities by starting a business. So it's a pretty interesting time. Now, an Encore career is sort of a catchy name that a lot of people are using these days, but what is it exactly? It's usually for people who want to make a living while making a difference. So generally speaking, we're talking about someone who's leaving their main job, the main career they've focused on, and shifting into something where they can give back to the community. Usually Encore careers are happening after you've transitioned out of your primary career, and it can take about 18 months to establish your role in this new field or new career focus. And whether you continue working because you have to or because you want to, you'll do it on your own terms. So pursuing an Encore career is really about saying, you know what, I've paid my dues and I'm going to do this my way. I'm going to enjoy the work that I'm doing. And it might be because you haven't saved enough for retirement. And, that's okay because fortunately we've got options. Or it could just be that you're just not ready to start relaxing full time. Maybe you like to work. And again, it can be in the same field. It could even be in the same company. A lot of people are just shifting roles within the corporation that they've, pledged a lot of years to. Or you might want to do something completely different. So that's basically an overview of what an Encore career is. And I know we were going to have some college kids joining us tonight, so I don't know if they're logged in or not. I didn't look through. Maybe say hi if you guys are. But again, regardless of the age you are, if you're in your 20s, if you're in your 60s, this is an important thing to consider because career trajectories these days are not as straight and narrow as they used to be. There's a lot of variation happening, and I think that's a good thing overall. As long as we're able to meet our basic living expenses and also save for the future, then you want to do something that really is fulfilling and makes you happy. So examples of Encore careers, what types of Encore careers are we seeing people pursue? I already mentioned my grandfather and my dad, but a little bit more broad examples. If you're a teacher, this is an obvious one. You could consider tutoring students, which can be a pretty good hourly rate and really flexible and allows you to focus on the one subject that you really love or the type of student that you really want to work with. If you've been an executive, you've been in the business world for years, you might want to consider coaching young entrepreneurs if you're not looking to become an entrepreneur yourself. Surely your wisdom and the experience that you gain could be very helpful to the younger generation. And if you love to write or just be creative, if you're not necessarily looking for a paycheck, or even if you are, you could consider starting a blog or writing a book. If you love to paint, maybe you can, or if you love to knit. I mean, if there's any sort of creative pursuit that you enjoy, there is a way to make money doing that. It may not be as much money as someone, tutoring students, but who knows? You could also figure out a way to really earn a very good living. So take some time to think about what you really enjoy. These are the years to no longer should you be wasting time doing things that are boring or just, underneath your skill level. What do you want to do? And so that's really the point here. And I like this quote. In fact, this is one of my favorite writers, Nicholas Kristof, who wrote Half the Sky, which is a wonderful book, if you haven't read it, about women across the globe and how it's really important to the future of our, global economy that women are educated, that girls get an education and then can go on to become successful and women who contribute to society. So he and his wife, he's a New York Times author, wrote Half the Sky, and then he's recently written another book called A Path Appears, Transforming Lives, Creating Opportunity. And this is a quote from that book. Helping people is harder than it looks, and yet, every now and then, if you're willing to take a risk, you can have a truly transformative impact in ways that ripple out to other people. And obviously, anyone who's involved in the Royal Neighbors Foundation sees this in action when you're out there getting to know the community and giving back so much. Sometimes it can feel like it's hard to make a difference, but when you get to those moments where you really feel good about it, it's hard to argue with that. There's few things in life that are better. So if you're starting to consider an Encore career, the first place to start would be to assess your situation. And this is where you want to be honest with yourself. You want to think about what you really enjoy doing, what your interests are, but also what your skills are. So if you love knitting, but you're not actually very good at it, then that might not be the best decision for trying to create blankets to sell at craft fairs. That's potentially a bad idea. But you also need to loop in not just your interest and your skills. So for instance, if you've been in the corporate world and if you're very good at working with young people and you want to start coaching on young entrepreneurs, you've also got to think about the opportunities. So if the town that you live in doesn't have very many entrepreneurs, it might be difficult to find people who are willing to pay you for your services. And I say pay, and I want to underline that because an Encore career is not about volunteering. That is definitely a valid pursuit as well. And if you have saved enough for retirement and you're prepared to just give your time for free, then that's a wonderful thing to be able to do. But Encore careers are really about earning a living, doing something you're passionate about. So again, that's why we're going to assess the situation, see what you're good at, what you enjoy, and where you can actually make money. So this is a nice opportunity for reflection. And it can be an ongoing thing. You might not have all the answers right away. It might take, like I said, it could take up to 18 months to transition into your Encore career. So this could be a 2-year, even a 5-year, even a 10-year process as far as finding the right thing. Now, once you've realized what your situation, what your opportunities are, then you really want to evaluate your options. So we can think big and think exciting. What sort of things would we love to do? And then you have to kind of back up and say, okay, but let's be realistic. What is going to actually work in my situation? So if you're still working, and especially if it's a job you've been at for a very long time, chances are the salary is good, the benefits are good. You might even have flexible hours, you might have extra vacation time. So before you just, if you've figured out what you want to do, don't walk into your boss's office and quit right away. First, you've got to start looking into how you can make money, what the opportunities are elsewhere, and compare it to where you're at right now. Because if where you're at right now is very, very good, and if you're still focusing on saving for retirement, I don't recommend taking a leap into an Encore career. In that case, you might want to do something more along the lines of volunteering on the weekend or ramping up your savings so that you can leave that job and not be as concerned about making an equal salary if you transition into an Encore career. Another thing to consider, and I think this is a really good option for a lot of people, is that your employer may have a role without even having to leave the company and all the seniority you've built. You might be able to just ease into a role within the same organization. So that's something to consider. If you really want to give back to the community, there may be a philanthropy arm of your organization. There might be some other ways to be creative where you're at. And it's really important in going through this thought process to evaluate your current expenses as well as your retirement projections, how much you've saved so far. And unfortunately, if you're not on track and if you can't afford your lifestyle with an Encore career, then you're really not a good candidate for one, as I said. Of course, if you're not still working and if you've already retired or left the company that you spent the bulk of your career with, then it's a different story, right? At that point, it's really about what am I trying to do? Who can help me get there? And so, especially if it's a situation where you need the money. So this is a different situation. The best place to start, as everyone knows, it's all about who you know. So you could start sending resumes through like those online websites, but it's very hard to get a job that way. And I think anyone who's ever tried can understand that. So the best place to start is really with your contacts. Who do you know that's already working in the field you're interested in? Who do you know from your long career? Who can you call on for advice or for introductions towards getting that the role that you're really interested in? It's weird. It's almost like getting back on the dating scene. If you've had a long career and if you've really established yourself in one part, it can be scary, but it can also be exciting to put yourself back out there again. You may need some new education. You might need, in my case, when I switched from marketing to financial planning, I went and took courses at NYU so that I could sit for the certified financial planner exam. So I had to go. I couldn't just become a financial planner, I had to go through an educational process that was in addition to my undergraduate degree that I'd already earned. So it's possible, if you're interested in making that kind of transition. And in fact, I should say, if you're remotely interested in financial planning, it's a field that's growing and we need more women. Only about a quarter of certified financial planners are actually women. So if you have questions about that specifically, I'd be happy to answer them later. Not to plug my own career path, but so far I like it. So like I said, education, you might have to gain some experience. You might not be able to just walk into a new field. You might have to prove yourself. And so that could require starting at a lower level than you're accustomed to. So that's something to consider, but it's not the end of the world. And of course, as always, update your resume to make sure that it reflects the kind of employment you're interested in now. So you want to gear your resume towards the jobs that you're applying for so that it's not so much where you've been, but looking forward towards where you're interested in going. And of course, the experience is still going to be the same, but you could describe the experience in a way that shows you have what it takes to take on this new challenge. And if you're completely shifting career paths and going into a totally new field, then you want to focus on more general things like the fact that you're a good problem solver or, that you've achieved a lot. And that's an important thing to do before you start sending your resume out there, because you want people to see that it's modern and fresh and updated and that you're aware of the change that you're making. Now, once you've kind of got that process going, you've got that started, the next part would be to create a plan. And that requires setting short-term and long-term goals. So first of all, you want to know, how long do you plan to work in this Encore career? Are you looking at 20 years? Are you looking at 10 years? Is this more of a 5-year thing just to get you over the hump because you need to make a little bit of extra money? What are you trying to get out of this Encore career pursuit? But then you also need the short-term goals, just the small things like updating my resume or reaching out to 10 people that I know in my community who can help me. So setting those sorts of goals along the way, maybe even if you're in a current job right now, you might need to set a savings goal. Maybe you need to have a certain amount of cash in the bank, depending on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to start a business, or really any Encore career, earlier I said it can take up to 18 months to transition into your Encore career, which to me says, in a perfect world, before transitioning into an Encore career, you would want to have 18 months of living expenses saved up. That might be a lot of money. That might sound like a huge barrier, or maybe you're already there. But at the very least, if you're going to start a business, you need to have a full year's worth of living expenses saved up, because you're taking on such a huge risk. And that's an important thing to remember as well. With the Encore careers, when you're so close to retirement, you can't afford to take big risks. So this isn't the time to start a business that you're not sure about. This is really the time to do all of your research, all of your due diligence to make sure your finances are as close to perfect as they can be before you start down this path. And so after you've set your goals, you really want to break it down and set up a timeline of steps in order to reach those goals. And this all folds into the research, and make sure that you know exactly what it's going to take. Don't decide that you're going to open an ice cream shop without understanding where you're going to get that ice cream from, who's going to keep track of your records, who's going to pay your employees, all of these sorts of things. You want to learn all of this first before you start. A lot of young entrepreneurs learn as they go, and they make mistakes and they learn things the hard way. And that might work okay when you're in your early 20s. But if you're in your early 50s and you're closer to retirement, it's not possible to learn the hard way at that point. The last thing I want to do is recommend that people sacrifice their retirement savings to pursue something that might be risky. Next, you want to find out what resources are available to you, and we'll go through that. I've got some recommendations later on in the webinar. There are quite a few things, whether it's to help you fund your education, which the Royal Neighbors Foundation will talk about the scholarships that they have available, or it might be going to the Small Business Administration, your local outlet for that, and they have help for making a business plan, help for accounting, help for legal things that you might need. So there's a lot of resources available to you. So if you have a dream and if you can justify the financial choices that you're making, really know that there's quite a bit out there that can help you bring this to fruition. And of course, I'll say this again and again and again, be realistic about your finances. It's so important that you don't put yourself into a bad situation where you're going to be dependent on family members, or if you end up in a situation where you have to go back to work and aren't happy with that decision, that's the last thing that we want to come out of an Encore career. Encore careers should be fun. They should be exciting, not stressful. Okay, so once you've created a plan, then it's time to take action. And again, if you are going to have to go back to school, look for scholarships and grants. Please do not take out student loans. I don't think that you would do that, but I can't emphasize that enough. Student loans are we're in such a stressful situation in our country as it is. For the young people who are graduating, and they're going to be paying student loans, a lot of them for 10, 20, 30 years. If you're nearing retirement, you can't afford to do that. Do not take out student loans for your Encore career. You might be, if you're at your current employer and if you have a really good relationship with them, you may be able to get tuition assistance. So that's something to look into, even if you're shifting into a different arena or planning to leave the company. It's something to, think through how you want to approach that. But tuition assistance from your current employer could be a very good option. Fastweb.com is a scholarship website. It's great for people of all ages and all situations in life to look into getting free money, basically, to pay for college. So that's something I would certainly recommend looking into. And again, if you're going to go back to school into a full 4-year university or even a community college, consider filling out the FAFSA form, same thing as you would do for your teenage children who are going to college, because you may qualify for federal grants. So that's something to add to your to-do list as well. And of course, we already mentioned the Royal Neighbors scholarships, and we'll talk more about those later on. One really cool idea, I think, if you're just sort of contemplating a new career path that you don't know much about, there are these great websites that have started popping up in recent years where you can take free classes online. So I've personally done a few of these, all sorts of interesting things. Behavioral economics, I mean, of course, I'd be interested in that, but there's all kinds of topics ranging from, very heavy math topics to more fun psychology, even like music history, art history. So there may be some classes that you can take. Two websites that I'm familiar with are Coursera.org and edX.org. Both of them, you'll basically be taking an online course with other students. It'll be very similar to this, in fact, where there's a weekly webinar that you watch, and then you have some readings to do, and they have homework assignments that usually take place in a forum. So you're interacting with other people across the country, across the world, all learning about a topic that you find very interesting. So that's a very good option if you're just starting to consider a new career path that you don't really know much about. So before you even head to community college or back to a 4-year university, see if you can take a course online. Because who knows, maybe you'll think it's very boring and you'll be happy to stay where you are, or to pick something different. So that's something I would certainly recommend. The education piece is one part. Of course, the connecting is the other part. So you want to use all the resources that are available to us, like LinkedIn. If you're not on LinkedIn, you really should be. You need a modern, well-lit photo, something that's a crisp, not just something where you've cropped out the kids out of the picture from Christmas, or the family photos from the holidays. You really need a nice photo of yourself. It's generally good to have just zoomed in on your head, or halfway down your body, something that looks very professional, and make sure that there are no typos on your LinkedIn. Read it over and over again, ask other people to read it, and writing the summary, the description at the top, is actually very helpful if you're looking for jobs, because that'll give people, it's sort of like a bio, it's a snapshot of who you are. So and you can upload all kinds of things. LinkedIn has really evolved. You can really use it to create this wonderful profile to sell yourself to the employer or to the companies that you're interested in creating an Encore career with. So that's a non-negotiable. You have to be on LinkedIn. Depending on what you're looking for, there are some great websites that can help you with Encore careers that are a little bit more nonprofit focused. Idealist.org has part-time, full-time, volunteer work, all within career paths that are working for the greater good. So idealist.org is a very good option. Bridgespan.org specifically is helping with taking on this Encore career, so taking everything that you've learned throughout your career, all the experience you have, and translating it into something where you can really give back to the community. Meetup.com could also be it's a little bit like taking the free classes online. It's a way for you to meet with like-minded people. So if you're interested in gardening or knitting, like I said, or tutoring students, I mean, there's a meetup for everything. So it's a good way to learn more about an Encore career path that you might be interested in. It's also a good way to meet people in your community that you might not have otherwise met, but who can really help you. So if you're looking to expand your connections and trying to reach people and get to know people outside of your world of expertise, that's a good option to look at. And there, even in small towns, there will be like 100 meetups, and you could just browse through and see if anything strikes your fancy. You can also start your own if there's not one listed that you want to create. You could definitely do that. Volunteering wise, we've got volunteermatch.org, which is a good option if you are not looking to get paid for your Encore career. So that's an option, but I again, this is more about getting paid for your expertise and doing something that you love. The Experience Corps is kind of an interesting option. It's AmeriCorps, which, or similar to the Peace Corps. A lot of people are considering these sorts of things as a way to get education and experience that you need to make a transition into an Encore career. Experience Corps in particular, that one is mainly more like tutoring. It's a little bit more of giving back to the community in a way that you're probably already experienced. They're going to capitalize on what you already know. You are less likely to learn much through Experience Corps, but it can be a really good opportunity if you've been a teacher or if you've been a corporate executive and you're interested in tutoring kids in math. It can be a good bridge to get you to where you want to be. So it's something to look into. And of course, the Small Business Administration has a huge amount of resources for people who want to start a business. It's amazing. In fact, when I started my business, I went there and was able to get help from an accountant as far as how do I need to set up these books, and also from a lawyer who helped me understand the legal different ways that I could incorporate a business, and really, told me which forms to get. You can do a lot of it yourself. So if you don't have much extra cash, definitely take advantage of the Small Business Administration, especially being a woman. There's even more resources that they have available, and they really want to encourage female entrepreneurs. So it's a good thing to consider. All of these ways that you can take action should be part of, let's see, back to this setting short-term and long-term goals and determining a timeline of the steps you need to take to reach your goals. So this is all part of the process. Now, once you've started down this path and you've set up your timeline, you know exactly what your goals are, you're checking tasks off your to-do list as you get closer and closer to transitioning into an Encore career. This piece is really important, actually. You have to be able to stay motivated. And if you've been in the workforce for a while, that careers have their ups and downs. And it really goes a long way to having a mentor or to establishing a group of like-minded professionals to help hold you accountable. Because especially if you're going to do something like start a business or shift into a new field where you're starting at the bottom again and you're going to have to work your way up, or just even working with a new group of people if you've grown accustomed to being around your coworkers, and it just all of those sorts of things can be very challenging. And it's important not only to set yourself up for success financially and with the right education and the right connections, but also to know that once you're going in that field, it's not always going to be perfect. And so perhaps even before starting down the path, get a group of girlfriends or even one other person who will help you stay motivated and positive and encouraged when times are not perfect or when things are hard. And especially a mentor. If you can find someone who's done what you're trying to do, all the better. Although Encore careers, since only 10% of people are actually working in Encore careers, you're going to be a bit of a trailblazer if you're going down this path. And so chances are you're going to learn things and become an expert in ways where other people are going to end up coming to you to be a mentor. So that's another way to stay motivated as well, of course, to share your knowledge with other people. So as far as other online resources go, we've talked about so many, and I don't want to overwhelm you with resources, but another in fact, they've got an entire book called the Encore Career Handbook, and they're really trying to make this sort of thing. They're really trying to make this something where people can come and learn what they need to know so that they can achieve their goals. The AARP has a pretty good site actually called Life Reimagined, and they're going to walk you through basically picturing how you want your retirement to look. This is geared a little bit more towards people who are financially ready for retirement, whereas encorecareer.org is geared toward that as well, but they also accommodate people who are working because they have to. Now, the government actually has some pretty good resources, especially if you're getting into an Encore career because you've been laid off from your job and you don't have a choice. You need to get back out there and find reemployment. You may not be able to work at the same level you were at before. And so being flexible, I think, and open-minded can be essential really in that situation. And so careeronestop.org/reemployment, a lot of resources is actually done by the federal government. It's a very helpful site. So if you're in that situation, I would definitely recommend checking that out. And then this is an interesting list. They've actually stopped updating this. The AARP used to make a list of the best employers for workers over age 50. The most recent one I could find was 2013. I hope they start doing it again. But interestingly, most of the employers on this list are in the healthcare industry. And so that's something to consider. If you love helping people and if blood doesn't freak you out, there are quite a few jobs in the healthcare industry. Of course, that might require education. So that goes back to looking for scholarships and grant money to make sure that you're not taking on student loan debt to make this transition. But it's a type of job that you can really work in for a very long time and get paid to do something that is helping other people. So that's a good option. And I would say check out, if that's something that's interesting to you, then I would say check out that list to make sure that you're applying for jobs at the right companies. And then if you're not retired yet, if you're still in your job and you're just sort of thinking about this Encore career option, I'd recommend starting to fill out projections for your retirement. So you can use Vanguard has a very good retirement expenses worksheet that'll just, help you get clear on how much you're going to need on a monthly basis. And you can create an account through Social Security, the My Social Security account. I don't know the exact website, but if you Google it, you can find out exactly what you expect your Social Security to be, whether you take it at 62, at 67, or at 70. And that's very helpful. You can compare that against your retirement expenses. You can pull in what savings you have and think through how much your savings will translate to on an annual basis, and then figure out what the gap is. What are you missing? How much money do you need to be making and saving during your Encore career to really make sure that your retirement is safe and not at risk? So I would definitely recommend doing all of that as part of the thought process to starting down an Encore career path. It's a lot to juggle, and it can be overwhelming, but I really think that if you can take a systematic approach like we've talked through, make sure that you're not taking financial risks, make sure that you're getting the education to do something that you're going to love, it's really a very satisfying way to continue working throughout retirement. So I hope this has been helpful. It's been so much information, and there's a lot of resources, a lot of links. We will certainly send this around so that all of you can read back through it again and visit the websites that you think will be helpful for what you're interested in pursuing. If you have questions, you can always find us on our Facebook pages, Royal Neighbors Foundation and Lauren Lyons Cole. It's a great way to ask us questions, or through email. We're happy to help. And if anyone has any questions, we're happy to answer them now, or else go into talking about the scholarship program through Royal Neighbors. So the main questions that looks like I'm seeing, at least, is that people are happy of the presentation. Like I said, we are happy to send that around.
Thanks, Lauren. This information is just fabulous. And it actually, one of our listeners was wondering about how they could obtain a copy of the presentation. And I just want them to know that these live on our website, and actually we do have the presentations that you did last year out there as well. So this will be available as a link on our foundation website at www.foundation.org, royalneighborsfoundation.org, excuse me. And I think the information is wonderful. I think it's important. You had mentioned something about college students and how this could be applicable to them as well. Do you have anything else to add, or are there certain slides that you can call out that would be specific to the younger person? Because we have a couple of our viewers who are saying, what about a younger worker? What kinds of things should they be considering? And, as a human resource professional, I think a lot of what you're talking about is trying to figure out, what is it that I'm really passionate about? What is it that I'm really, really good at? What do I want to do with my life? Whether it's your first chapter or your second chapter, the process is going to be somewhat similar. Am I not right there?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think, regardless of the decade of life in right now, you can definitely use, if you're considering switching careers, whether it's, a shift or a huge shift, you can use a lot of these same resources. Some of them were geared towards pre-retirement age, like Encore.org. Of course, that's specifically for people who are getting close to that transition. For your people, you still, when it comes to taking courses, like the free online courses I mentioned, or looking for scholarships and grants to go back to school, all of those things, you can do that at any age. And I would still recommend not taking out student loans if possible after, if you've already taken them out, unless you have a very clear sense. The rule of thumb is not to take out more student loans than your first year salary will be. Mm-hmm. Depending on which decade you're in, that could be different. But
I did have another question for you, and this is just your opinion, but I was wondering, why do you think that women are not selecting the certified financial planner career as a choice to I mean, there's so many wonderful opportunities for women in the finance world, and being, only 25%, that seems like there would be more women that would be interested in that with the opportunities that it presents.
I know. And what's so interesting is that obviously there are, 50% of the US, 50% of the world are female clients, and female clients consistently say that they would rather work with a woman. And so it's there's so much opportunity. It's really, there are so many clients out there who are looking to work with a female certified financial planner. And I think largely it's just a lack of knowledge. I think a lot of people don't realize that this is a career path. A lot of guys might be conditioned to look into finance because they're interested in making a lot of money. Oftentimes, women are interested in helping. And the interesting thing to me, and it took me a while to find this career path, but the reason I do this is because I want to help people. And I realized that through helping with their financial planning and making sure that they're financially secure, it gives people freedom. And it's a ripple effect, because when people have that sort of financial freedom, then they can help other people, and it just continues to grow. So I do think that, if anyone's listening and is interested in becoming a certified financial planner, I think it's a really good career path, and there's so many people out there who would love to work with more female advisors.
Well, that's good advice for our younger female listeners, I think. So thank you for that. Mm-hmm. Well, what I'd like to talk about now is some of the scholarships that are available through Royal Neighbors Foundation. And again, the scholarship program is just really a testimony of Royal Neighbors' commitment to empowering women and assisting women through their lives with different things that they're wanting to accomplish and different dreams that they're wanting to achieve. Now, as I go through this program, I just want to also highlight that Royal Neighbors of America, which is our sister company, also provides a scholarship program, and much of the application process is similar. So as I talk about this, particularly the application process, you can be aware that Royal Neighbors of America scholarship program would be basically the same process. So at the foundation, as you can see there, we do award 42 scholarships per year. And we do this by the participating states that our chapters are located in. And so there's 42 or 21 states and 42 actual awards that we make. We do one $2,000 award to a traditional student, so that would be something of interest for our younger listeners or for parents of students that are getting ready to go to school or are currently in college. And then we award one $500 award to a non-traditional student. So that would be your older student that would be transitioning careers in midlife. The eligibility is based on the member's residency or chapter assignment. And so there again, that's why there's only 21 states that are participating in this program, and we make the 42 awards. The funding then is made possible by donations that are made to the foundation specifically for our scholarship program. So if we want to go to the next slide then. The application process is very simple. You simply go to www.royalneighborsfoundation.org. And if you go up to the top bar, I think there is something there about programs or things that we make available. You click on that and you'll go to the scholarships that we provide, and there's just a green button there that you punch, and then you are sent right to our application. And the application is simply something that the individual needs to fill out. It has to be completed. Everything has to be completed on it. And this is how we collect the information to determine whether or not the individual is going to be eligible for that scholarship. The scholarships are dependent upon need and also merit. Of course, they have to have a good educational background or good educational achievements in high school particularly. And then also in both scholarships, it's very important that they have demonstrated a willingness to volunteer for the community and through the chapter activities. And so we take these applications at a specific time of year, September 1st through March 1st. So they will open up again in March 1st or September 1st of 2015, and they will go through March 1st of 2016. And if you have questions about the application process, that can be answered by calling our philanthropy department, and there's a toll-free number there that you can call. And again, this is going to be out on our website, so if you need to refresh your memory about that phone number, it's going to be available to you there on the website. So the Foundation Scholarship Program then does focus on some states, and I'm just providing you there a map so you can kind of understand that it really does cover a broad section of the country. So starting on the West Coast, we're in California and Oregon and Washington, Montana, Wyoming, and Colorado. We also cover a good portion of the Midwest with Dakotas, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and then again Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, Michigan, Indiana. Very, very good concentration there in the Midwest. And then also in Pennsylvania and in Florida. And so if we get applications from each of these states, then we will award 2 scholarships in each of those states if we have those eligible participants. Okay, if we just want to go to the next slide there. This is just an example of what we did in 2014, and I think it's a great demonstration of, the types of individuals that we are providing these scholarships to. We awarded 32 last year that were worth approximately $40,000. So, we're really a resource for individuals who are looking at ways to fund either an Encore career or, a young person with their college education. So those two women on the left of your screen there, one is a traditional student, one was a non-traditional student, and then there you can see there was a reception at our home office with our president and CEO, Cynthia Tidwell, in the middle there. Um, all of these were traditional students, and you can see we do provide scholarships to young men as well. So a good example. And I just want to go to the last slide now. And these are just examples of, again, how we have affected people's lives. You see the scholarship on the left there is a woman whose husband and she were both laid off, and they were very, looking for an opportunity to kind of reinvent themselves, really, really needed to do that. And this woman applied for a scholarship, and she was able to go back to school and get a viable career and get back on her feet. And then on the right there you see a young woman, a traditional student, who was actually a cadet at West Point. And I believe she is now in flight school, but we also provided that leg up to her to allow her to pursue the education of her dreams. So we really feel like at the foundation we are changing lives, we are making dreams come true, and it is a resource for you to look into as assistance for education. So at this point, if we don't have any other questions, I think we addressed a couple of the questions, Lauren, that folks had, but you've given us a nice way to get other questions answered through Facebook, which is a great way to communicate. Did you have anything else to add?
Oh, I think that this is such an important topic, and I think one other thing for the young people is just to think about your career, not just where you're at today, but to really look into the future beyond a 10-year plan, and to think about what sort of things you might want to be doing when you get to the phase closer to retirement in your career, because it's not, a lot of times we think that it's just going to be one straight line trajectory, and we're going to keep getting more responsibility and making more money, but it's really not necessarily that. There's so much moving around. There's so many opportunities, and people shouldn't be afraid to do that as long as they're taking care of their savings as well.
Yeah, I think there's a little risk involved in everything in life that's worth something. So I think this presentation has given us a lot of resources, a lot of things to think about. And I just want to thank you, Lauren, for guiding us through that process of looking at, what it is that we love and what it is that we want to do and the different places to go to get more information. And I want to thank all of our viewers for spending some time with us as they think about planning that next chapter in their life, whatever journey is on their horizon, and also to take a look at our website and remember that the foundation is there to stand behind you and plans for your future. So I would like to tell our viewers also that we will be planning a webinar in June, and Lauren and I are still talking. We're considering some different topics, but I think we're getting close to thinking about talking about Social Security and some things that women might want to know about that. It's a very important topic and one that we as women need to take some responsibility and understanding. So thank you for joining us tonight. Have a great rest of the week.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good week.